What if your next phone could give you a bigger screen without actually getting bigger in size? Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what Samsung is working on with the Galaxy S26 Ultra. Over the past few years, Samsung has been slowly increasing the display size on its Ultra models, and now it's getting even more ambitious. The Galaxy S25 Ultra already had a large 6.86-inch screen with super slim bezels, but now the Galaxy S26 Ultra is rumored to stretch that just a bit more to 6.89 inches. That's right, a slightly larger display, but without making the phone any wider than the previous model, which was already at 77.6 millimeters. The secret behind this is even thinner bezels. According to trusted source Ice Universe, the S26 Ultra's bezels could be as thin as 1.15 millimeters. To compare, the S25 Ultra had bezels measuring 1.2 millimeters. That tiny change may not sound like much, but visually it makes a real difference. The phone ends up looking cleaner, more modern, and more futuristic, and when you hold it, the screen feels like it stretches edge to edge without interruption. But Samsung isn't stopping at just shrinking bezels. The display itself is also getting smarter. The Galaxy S26 Ultra is expected to feature a new panel called CoOLED, which stands for Color Filter on Encapsulation. This technology replaces the traditional polarizer with a color filter and uses a black pixel definition layer instead of the usual one. The result, a display that's brighter, lighter, and thinner, while also saving battery. This display technology is already being used in Samsung's foldable phones like the Galaxy Z Fold series, and it seems Samsung is now ready to bring it to their flagship Ultra model, so users can expect better brightness and battery life, all while enjoying a more lightweight device. That's a big win for people who want power without bulk. Now, while the display is clearly a focus, Samsung is also making decisions in other areas that reflect its long-term design strategy. The company has been pushing for slimmer and lighter phones, as seen with the Galaxy S25 Edge and Galaxy Z Fold 7, both considered some of the thinnest phones ever made. And to stay on that path, Samsung is not rushing to add massive camera sensors or huge batteries, unlike many Chinese smartphone makers. Instead, it plans to keep using the 50 megapixels and 200 megapixels camera sensors already in its lineup. But that doesn't mean no improvement. Samsung is focusing on smarter upgrades like better lenses, improved image processing. What if the S Pen isn't gone forever, just waiting for the right moment to return? That's the question many Samsung users are now asking after a surprising update from the company. When Samsung removed Bluetooth from the S Pen in the Galaxy S25 Ultra and then completely ditched pen support in the Galaxy Z Fold 7, most people assumed it was the end of the road for this handy tool. But hold on, there's more to the story. Samsung's executive director of the Mobile Experience Division, Kong Min-seok, recently shared some thoughts that have sparked hope among fans. He explained that the decision to drop the S Pen from the Fold 7 was mainly to keep the phone as slim and lightweight as possible. Apparently, there's not yet a way to make room for the pen's tech without compromising on size and weight. According to Kong, right now users can either have a super thin foldable or the S Pen, but not both. That might sound like the end of the line for the pen, but Kong also hinted that Samsung is keeping the door open. He said the company is always working on improvements and could consider bringing the S Pen back in a future foldable model, especially if there's enough demand for it. That's the key. Samsung seems to be using consumer interest as a deciding factor. If users really want it back and make enough noise, there's a chance the company could make it happen. Still, you can't ignore Samsung's reasoning. They say Bluetooth was dropped from the S Pen because hardly anyone was using it. That suggests the company is trying to streamline features based on what people actually use in the long run. The S Pen's comeback might depend on more advanced battery technology. Samsung might be waiting for denser silicon batteries to be ready, That would allow them to include the S Pen without shrinking the battery size or making the device bulky, and that's not the only twist. Reports suggest Samsung is thinking about removing the S Pen from the Galaxy S26 Ultra too. That's a big deal. The Ultra series is loved by power users, many of whom rely on the S Pen. If the pen disappears from the S26 Ultra, it might push longtime fans to reconsider their upgrade plans. But from Samsung's side, it would open up more space for a larger battery, which is always a priority. So they're trying to figure out what users value more, battery life or the pen. It's a tough call. Some people have even suggested bringing back the Galaxy Note series to give the S Pen a proper home again. Others think Samsung should offer two versions of the Ultra each year, one with a pen and one without. That could work, but it might also create confusion and add pressure to the production process. What makes the Galaxy Z Flip 7 stand out in 2025's crowded smartphone market? Well, Samsung has finally pushed its iconic clamshell foldable beyond just good looks this time. It's got meaningful upgrades across the board. Unveiled on July 9 in New York City, the Galaxy Z Flip 7 now brings a much larger and more practical 4.1-inch flex window cover screen that wraps around the cameras, a big leap from the 3.4-inch display on the previous Flip models. This display refreshes at 120 Hz and hits up to 2600 nits brightness, so even under direct sunlight, it stays super visible. And yes, while you still can't run all apps on the outer screen by default, Samsung's Good Lock app can unlock that capability for tech-savvy users. Inside, the foldable now has a 6.9-inch display, also with a 120 Hz refresh rate and 2600 nits brightness, protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2. It's the first flip phone ever to run on an Exynos chip in this case. The 10-core Exynos 2500 processor with AMD's Eclipse 950 GPU, and it powers the device across all global markets, including the United States. You also get 12 GB of RAM and storage options of either 256 GB or 512 GB. Number 1 TB variant here, as Samsung keeps that for its Ultra flagship models. On the connectivity front, this phone doesn't hold back. It includes 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 5.4, NFC, and even satellite messaging support thanks to the new chip. Battery life gets a notable upgrade too. The Flip 7 houses a 4,300 mAh battery, which is 300 mAh more than the Flip 6 and just shy of the Galaxy Z Fold's capacity. That's great news for anyone who wants all-day usage on a stylish foldable. Charging remains the same, with 25-watt fast wired charging, 15-watt wireless charging, and for 0.5-watt reverse wireless charging. The camera setup might be the only place where Flip fans could feel a bit let down. It still includes a 50 megapixels main camera, a 12 megapixels ultra-wide camera, and a 10 megapixels front camera, with no telephoto lens in sight. But Samsung is making up for it with better software processing, improved low-light shots, real-time filters, and a new zoom slider. Selfies continue to shine thanks to Flex Mode and the ability to use the rear camera with the cover screen as a viewfinder. On the software side, the Flip 7 comes with One UI 8 based on Android 16, and for the first time ever,